What's up, you guys? This is Mario here for Friggin Nerds Media, bringing you guys our very first episode of Friggin Nerd Reviews.
Woo!
It's fun time, guys. Of course, we have the Friggin Nerds crew here. Leisha Dumas, Britt, and Mike Berkey. Great time. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing
We're doing well.
all right. Jinx,
Doing
Mike.
real well.
Yes.
Real swell today.
We're real sweaty.
Swell.
Real swell.
I
Real
got my
sweaty.
Miss Minutes. Hey y'all, doing real swell. Shirt on. Let's do this.
A
We
shirt,
got birthday vibes happening in the
shirt.
background.
a shirt from a better Marvel thing than what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, which one are we talking about
Ladies and
in this
gentlemen,
episode?
If you guys don't know already, a little housekeeping before we start. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all various forms of social media. Twitter, we're on Facebook. We don't use Facebook that much. Get us on, follow us on Discord. Hang out with us on the Discord. Get us on YouTube. All that good stuff.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
all that stuff. But today, guys, we are doing Friggin Nerd Reviews, and we are reviewing Black Widow, the first Marvel film to be, back, post COVID. We went back to the theaters. Well, some of us went. Some of us stayed home and watched on Disney Plus. Some of us went to the theater. It was our first kind of
Because they
experience.
can do that now.
We can,
Thanks,
Right.
COVID.
we can go back to the theater, guys.
At least for this one.
For this
I
one,
don't think that option is available going forward.
Oh, you don't think so?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Oh.
Did you
I
not
think that they're
so?
making extra money with it, so I don't know why they would take it away.
From what I've seen with the upcoming Shang-Chi and Eternals trailers, Shang-Chi is the closest one, and it still has no indication of Disney Plus.
I mean, I think a big issue is that the theaters, they were pissed.
Wow.
And so I know, like, when they put Trolls out, a lot of the when they released Trolls to home,
That was like the first one,
Yeah.
first big one.
there were like major company, like major theater chains saying, like, if you're going to do this, we're not going to show any of your movies in our theaters anymore, because if they keep doing that, it's screwing over
Theaters.
the theaters.
Yeah.
So I guess I get that, but
Well, and just a quick other sidebar to that is it was such a big deal that they put it on Disney Plus, because for the longest time, it's one of the main reasons why it got delayed so long, is because they couldn't make the final decision to say just put it on Disney Plus. So they finally got to a point where they could do that kind of hybrid approach, because
Yeah.
they did not want to put it on Disney Plus because they were worried that this was the first like big movie that wouldn't make a lot of money. And it's Marvel, it's going to make money,
you're
period.
going to make you money.
Yeah.
yeah, I
But
think
anyway.
I think it's fine with like your smaller releases. Like maybe your animated stuff. What was that mermaid one that came out? I couldn't think of the name.
Oh,
Raya,
Luca.
Luca.
Stuff like that. That's great. You can put that
Yeah.
on Plus, for the kids, and all that. But yeah, bigger movies, your big Star Wars flicks, your big Marvel flicks. Yeah, we're okay to go back to the theaters now. We want to go. We don't want to see Endgame at home. We want to go see those
No,
at the
it
theater.
deserves to be seen on the big screen. That's how they intended it for it to be watched. And it's also like the experience of watching it with other fans.
With people. Yeah.
Mhm. So Mario, you would say that future releases on Disney Plus should be for the children.
Oh,
For
the children.
For the children.
It's Mephisto.
Ship of Theseus.
Back on Mephisto one.
Oh man, yeah, we're back on Mephisto.
Just had to throw
watch.
back real quick.
But we'll talk
right.
about that in a future episode. Today, guys, we were talking about Black Widow again. We'll talk about our final thoughts at the end, but we have a lot of unanswered questions for sure after this. So, Britt, why don't you kick us off here with the first question of the day here?
All right, so our first question is, who were the standout performances of the film?
I'm gonna let Mario answer.
I was
before
like,
me.
the boys should just go and answer.
Yeah.
Just get it out of your
But-
system, guys.
Oof,
But I have a girl crush on them.
well,
Yeah, I
Everybody
do
has a
too.
crush
I
on her.
saw her first. God damn it. First of all, let's get a special shout out for my girl. I can't think of the actress's name, unfortunately. I'm an idiot.
It's Florence. Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Pew pew.
Yelena. Baby, I love you. Oh my God. I fell in love with this woman. I was not expecting this at all. Seeing the trailer, seeing everything out, like, mostly in the trailers, we used to see that one scene of
What is
like
this?
Yes.
What is
Yes.
in the trailers.
Oh God, Mario.
One of the main things we really see is like, them have this standoff in the apartment, thinking,
Yeah.
I did not expect her to be this huge in the movie, like funny,
Yeah.
great action sequences. She was fantastic in this movie, and as we see at the end of this movie, obviously major spoilers in this. If you haven't seen the movie already, go see it, and
Oh yeah, that's
don't
right. We
watch
didn't do the
this right
spoiler
now.
alert. Obviously, yeah. If you haven't seen it
This
yet,
is our spoiler
Yeah.
episode.
yes.
But looking like she's going to be the future Black Widow, so I am all in for this. Show me more, baby. I love her
Yes.
to death.
Tell
But
me more, tell me more.
but along with her, I love David Harbour in this. David Harbour was fantastic. I loved him in Stranger Things.
He can do no wrong.
Yeah.
I just
Honestly.
love
The
the guy.
second they told me that he was playing Red Guardian, I was like, no way. First of all, you're putting Red Guardian in the movie? That's fantastic. Second of all, you're putting David Harbour behind the mask. That's going to be great.
Mhm.
Obviously, I feel like there could have been more action with him. I want to see him, in some more cool choreographed fight scenes. But he was hilarious. He was really fun to watch, and I'm hoping to see him in future movies.
Yep. So to add on to Yelena, I am in complete agreement in what you just said, Mario. When you see the trailers, and I'm wondering if they did this on purpose,
Mhm.
because when you saw the trailers, I was like, oh, she's a widow, so she's probably not going to have like much personality. She's going to be like very,
Mhm.
stale, not much going on. But she was so spunky and funny, and
She was
like,
funny.
and the relationship that she had between the Natasha and her was great. The poser scene was just hysterical. But I loved, actually, all of that's great, and I know everybody like loves those scenes, but I actually loved her like relationship with her Ohio family. Like out of the four of them, it's all a staged family. She was so young that she didn't realize that it was fake.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
because Natasha had already been to the Red Room.
Right.
But Yelena had not. So yeah,
And-
she didn't understand.
And so seeing her like work through that backstory and work through those issues, and the Bye Bye Miss American Pie scene with her and David Harbour was
Oh my
just
God.
awesome. Like that whole sequence of at the dinner table and ending with that was great. I loved that aspect of the movie.
And
All
do
right,
you
now,
think
I know y'all have crushes, but and Lee and I have a crush on Yelena too, but mostly Lee and I just appreciate a girl who appreciates pockets.
yes.
Lots of pockets.
Yes, the pocket.
Lee and I are big fans of pockets.
Big
We're
pocket
basically
fans.
the pocket's biggest fans.
Mm.
And we're glad to see that Yelena also is a fan
appreciates
of the pocket.
appreciates a fine pocket.
A
Yes.
lot of pockets.
My favorite, that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie because she's like, it's awesome, right? It's an
Yeah,
awesome vest, right?
There's
Like
a lot of pockets. Yes,
there's-
it's awesome.
It's and I made some adjustments to it, but it's awesome,
Yeah.
right? Like I love her so much. And I think so for a while I was trying to figure out like how did her personality turn out like that when like Black Widow's is so different. And I really think that it has to do with Red Guardian because Yelena is so close to, or she feels so close to Red Guardian. She's sort of like, she really looks up to him as a like a role model for her.
Mhm.
And
as a father
even
figure, yeah.
as a father figure and a role model. So I really feel like she gets that personality, that spunk from him.
Yeah. Well, I
For
can see
sure.
that because the last like moments of humanity that she knows is her family in Ohio before she's thrown into being mind controlled and mind wiped and becoming a widow. And so when she gets when she wakes up from that, she kind of falls back in to maybe those personality traits. So I
Well,
can see that.
Maybe part of it too is that like Natasha always knew that family was a farce
Mhm.
and Yelena didn't. And
Mhm.
so Black Widow never saw herself as having a family and that she didn't have like that grounding part of her childhood
Mhm.
where Yelena did. And so maybe that's part of like what helped her to hold on to like some of her sense of humor.
She got to be a
And-
child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she still felt like she had a family.
I think all in all, though, like this was, excuse me, this was Scarlett Johansson's swan song in the MCU,
It was.
which was great, but like I feel bad for her because I feel like Florence Pugh and
She got-
David Harbour like stole the show.
Oh yeah,
almost.
she got
like
she got
she was
overshadowed
there.
for sure.
She was there and she did an amazing job, just like she always does. She did a great job. But I think the enjoyment of the two new characters kind of overshadowed saying goodbye to Natasha.
Well, so speaking of other characters,
Hmm.
why were there no cameos from any of the other Avengers in this film?
Money. Money.
That's one theory. Another
Well,
theory.
Well, I mean, me personally, I just think that it's just like we didn't want to kind of again stray away from her story. Maybe putting a bigger Avenger might have been, a little weird to kind of take away from, the spark that we're trying to again say goodbye to her. And and I mean, it's kind of a weird time too when you're seeing this movie because it's after Civil War, which is a movie we haven't thought about in a long time. And a lot of these guys are in prison and kind of in hiding because a lot of shit went down, and we're kind of like, oh, like other Avengers can't really show up. I would have liked to see a Hawkeye in like a flashback, something like where
I
we
feel
We
that's
got a
the
sort of
biggest
cameo. It was like a voice cameo.
Yeah, we got a
from
line.
Hawkeye.
We got a line from Jeremy Renner, but I feel like that was the biggest miss in this movie was that everybody wanted to see what happened in Budapest, and
We
we
still didn't get a clear
we
picture.
just kind of brushed on it. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a full 100% answer.
I thought like Black Widow fans, they all thought that was going to be like a
Yeah.
central focus of this movie.
I-
Like, we're
I
gonna
was-
get those answers.
I was
Didn't happen.
down and like would have bet money that we would have seen Jeremy Renner in the flashback as Hawkeye.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was just a little voice cameo.
I mean, we
So
did
from-
happen. We now know what happened in Budapest, but it didn't answer like,
Yeah.
well, how was that fight scene in Avengers different like than what happened
How
in
she
Budapest?
remembers.
Like they just didn't fill it out. We know that they were like, in hiding up in the air duct system or something for several days, but I just
Yeah.
wanted more of it. But that's, cool, whatever.
And
I
the-
also know that this is not how the world works. Okay, but in my head, I
you're
like to
Making
believe,
another point. I was like, what
yeah,
do you mean?
sorry, I don't segue well. I like to believe that all these people are like, all these characters are real and they're friends. And so I was pissed. I'm like, she showed up in all of y'all's movies and y'all didn't even show up in her movie. And then Mario's like, money. And I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
money,
So
whatever. I
that's-
guess they have agents and stuff. But in my head,
That's
I'm
one
like,
piece of it.
she's your friend and you didn't show up.
I also read an article. I forget who exactly said it, but it was either one of the producers or it was, I don't remember if it was Feige, but I don't think it was. It may have been. I don't remember. Somebody in the higher ups had said that the reason they didn't give Iron Man and Captain America cameos is because they wanted her to stand on her own because she doesn't need the boys. So in this era of feminism, which I think Britt touched on in our last podcast, I think that they were really trying to, as her last movie, give her that, that strong independent woman vibe. And I mean, I don't think that any Marvel fan would have been upset if we'd had a cameo, but they didn't want them to overshadow
Yeah.
Black
Yeah,
Widow and her story.
I totally get that.
I get it,
I
but
think they
Though I
they
would have liked to have seen Hawkeye.
I think
Yeah.
they could have done a cameo outside of the like major conflict at the end of the movie.
Yeah, like he didn't
Yeah.
have to come save her. I don't need Iron Man like flying into just like could they just go eat shawarma or something
Right.
like after like anything? It was the
anything,
first film back.
even
like,
a phone call.
Have Marvel content for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And like fans, it would have just been cool to like see more than one of them on the screen.
Especially since Iron Man and Captain America are no more. Like
Right.
it
Yeah,
would have been
that
cool
would've
to see
been-
them in a cameo.
Yeah.
That would have been nice just to have a little nod. You know, we're getting to see Black Widow one more time. You know, it'd be really cool. It would have been really cool to have a scene with the three of them, right? You know, maybe as like a mid-credit scene, just to have it, just to be like, oh, like part of the original group that we won't
After-
see much
Yeah.
anymore.
Like a phone,
may-
even a phone call or like a lunch.
Yeah.
Could they have gotten at like
Yeah.
a lunch?
Just tacos or something.
Yeah,
But
tacos.
probably money is probably the answer
Probably.
here. But
So Lee did say it's like the feminist anthem of the MCU films, which means we have to talk about it. What are your thoughts on the Taskmaster reveal as Dreykov's
yeah, I'm
daughter?
gonna mute my mic and let Mario take this one.
Motherfucker. No. So no, you know, knowing about Taskmaster when it was first revealed that they would be in the movie, I was pretty excited. As a fan of the comics, you know, he is kind of in the comics. It's a he. He's known as kind of like the Riddler of the Marvel universe. I always knew him as the guy that fucked around with Spider-Man and had him, like, you know, doing these little tasks and stuff to mess with him. And, you know, and he's a cool character. You know, he can he studies all the Avengers and he like can copy any move. You know, it's really, really interesting. And, you know, he's been shown in the new Avengers game, which is actually really cool because the beginning of that game, there's an exact, almost mirrored thing of Black Widow. You play as Black Widow in the beginning and you fight Taskmaster on a bridge.
Oh, it's almost just like the scene in the
So
movie.
it was just like the movie. So I remember watching that and like, I was like, this looks, I feel like I've seen this before. I feel like I was there. So having it be I think it's Drakov
Dreykov.
having it be Dreykov's daughter at the end made sense for the movie. Like, I get it, you know. It's funny because I kind of caught it too, because if you notice when you get the flashback scene of Budapest and, you know, Natasha's about to blow up the building and they talk about, you know, had to kill the daughter too. And when you see the girl jump out of the car and land on her feet, it's the same exact sound as when you see Taskmaster get out of the Jeep on the bridge. I don't know if you guys caught that. It's
Interesting.
the
No.
exact same thing. So I remember like seeing that like landing, and when it happened again, I'm like, that's a weird sound for a girl to
Yeah.
make when she lands. And then I like, oh,
A weird sound for a girl to make.
yeah, because it's the exact same sound, like.
Yeah.
And it's just like this little girl with like a little schoolgirl outfit, her back like. And I was like, that's weird. And then I thought about it back of my head. I'm like, oh, are they gonna make? No, there's no way. Like, that's Taskmaster. They're not gonna make her. You know, no. I'm not like saying it's a bad thing to be a girl, but this Taskmaster's a guy usually. So I was kind of like, I was like, if they do that, I get it. And sure enough, when the mask comes off, there it is. And you know, but it was kind of a weird reveal because it's like when they take it off, it's kind of a pause there, and they're like, "Oh, who's that?" That's my daughter. Oh, okay.
Oh.
For a second, we're like, who is
Yeah,
this?
like, well, are we supposed to know who this is?
Yeah, I'm like, is this
yeah.
Tony Stark's sister? Like, who is this? So, but I mean, for what they did, I mean, they still got Taskmaster right. I love the scene of like her
Yeah.
studying the airport fight, you know, like
in Civil War, yeah.
and you see her like, you know, on that bridge scene, like she's swinging like Spider-Man towards the end when she fights
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Does the Black Panther pose. You get these little things. So obviously
Throws
like,
the shield like Cap, like all these.
She's
yeah.
she's as big a fan of Civil War as all of us.
Right, exactly,
She's seen that
yeah.
movie so many times. So am I thrilled? Because it was a very weird thing. Like, I don't know if they're gonna bring Taskmaster. There was a theory I thought of. The suit is still there. Taskmaster was taken with the widows. So maybe somebody else can take the mantle of Taskmaster, because it seems like anyone who puts that suit on is like,
Right.
oh wow, I got all these calculations in my helmet.
Right.
I
Well,
can do
you can
anything.
see them. You can see them uploading things into the suit itself at the very beginning of the. Or no, that was in the back of her head, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
there's
did
a
it.
chip.
It
Oh,
was
that's
like
right,
kind
that's
of
right.
all
Yeah.
work together. But I
Yeah,
mean, like, I guess you could.
but
Put
I
that
feel
implant
like
into
Well,
him.
maybe she's not going to have a purpose later, so maybe she'll come back and reprise her role as Taskmaster proper. Who knows?
perhaps.
Well,
but
here was my biggest, like, that I was okay. I was kind of okay. Sure, we'll do a little gender swap.
I don't mind the
to-
gender
to
swap.
tie
I mean,
it
they did that
into-
with the ancient one.
Right. To tie
They've done
it
it
into the
before.
backstory a little bit more. Okay, that's like I can understand why they did that. What I didn't like about the very end of it, the resolution at the end with Taskmaster, is that Natasha was able to just use that, like, pheromone or whatever, the cure, to then like beat Taskmaster.
Mhm.
And I was like, I wish that they just made it to where Dracoff's
Dreykov.
oh, we can't get this name right. I wish that we made it to where his daughter was just so enraged that she got blown up as a little child by Black Widow, that
Yeah.
she was just bloodthirsty about getting revenge on the person that scarred her for
There
life.
was just like no
Mhm.
depth to the character.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't care that she's a girl. I just wish there was more depth. Like, basically, Taskmaster was a useless part of the film. Like, I didn't even understand why it was in there, except for comic fans to be like, "Look, y'all, it's Taskmaster." But even so, like, I think comic book fans
But-
would have preferred that Taskmaster had been done right, not necessarily male, just done better.
I feel like they didn't
I don't
have to
understand it.
resolve. Basically, what I see at the end of this movie is Taskmaster is resolved, and like, I don't know if we're ever going to see Taskmaster
But-
again. And it's like, I feel like if they made it to where she was just all out for revenge, and Nat was just able to kind of get away at the end from Taskmaster, maybe a future project Taskmaster pops back up when you
But
least expect it.
Is she actually resolved? Because this all happened before her father was actually killed. So maybe now that her father is dead, yes, he was a shithead. Yes, all this crap, but he also did save her life, right? So maybe it comes down to, okay, great, you like broke the spell, but also I still need to avenge my father. So maybe she will pick that back up. I don't know. It's
I mean,
theory.
I
I
don't know.
think
Her
that you've pissed off enough fans, they may retcon a little bit to
Yeah.
bring. I mean, that's what they did with the Mandarin. They had to go retcon that because you went and pissed off fans who were like excited to see the Mandarin on the big screen, and then it was some drunk dude from
Yeah.
the General Baptist Association. Like, what was that? So I think maybe they could retcon it a little bit so that we can get like a better Taskmaster.
Or
But
if
we'll
we
see.
go on to our next question, maybe
It's a
Maybe.
fun one. It's a fun one. Is Dreykov really dead? All right, let me set this up because everybody's like, why is this question in the notes? That's how Mike said it. Why'd you put a square? Of course
That's
he's dead.
Exactly how I sound.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I think Dreykov's dead. But in the very beginning of the movie, when Natasha sees sis Yelena again, Yelena says something about the Red Room still being active, and Natasha's like, "No, I killed him in Budapest, and we're all good." And sis is like, "Did you check for the body to confirm the kill?" Like they make sure really clearly to say Natasha did not check for the body to confirm the kill, which is part of her training as a widow. And Natasha's like, no, there wasn't anything to check for because like there was nothing left. They leveled the building and he was supposed to have burned up in the bomb. And then at the end, Dreykov dies again
From an
By
explosion.
fire.
Yeah.
And as I'm seeing Dreykov, like he's supposed to be falling and burning, I was like, oh, this is the payoff for that line. Like this is when they're gonna pay that off. There's gonna be some joke at the end. They're gonna land on the ground and she's gonna be like, I checked, checked to confirm the kill, and it didn't happen. And I was like, well, that was a weird choice. Like, do I think Dreykov is dead? I mean, probably, but did we actually see him die? Nope. And I feel like that's one thing that we've always learned in Marvel is like, but did you see them die? Are you sure?
Did you
Like,
confirm the kill?
did you confirm
Right.
the kill? Because they went
I-
out of their way to say that in the beginning and then did not do it
Yeah.
at the end.
I think that's the problem. Like even if it was just a joke to have Yelena be like, we need to check the body, and they look back and the helicopter like pieces just fall to the ground and there's nothing to check. They'd be like,
Or
well,
like if there's like body parts, and then it would be like, oh yeah, I think we're good.
Think
Like
we're good, yeah.
there was like a moment there for a joke. There was a moment to pay off that line, and you didn't.
I think looking back
weird.
at some of the recap videos that we've been watching, and they show that scene for a split second, I'm pretty positive that he gets incinerated. Like his glass, like you see the explosion, the fire like take his body, and his like glasses float for a second before they drop. And so I think that's kind of like a sign like he's gone.
I think you're probably right.
Correct. Yeah.
I just think it's weird.
I'm glad that statement's on a recording somewhere.
Suck it.
We're going to put that as a drop.
Oh my Lanta.
But that could be, if he's not dead, that could also be another opening for
He gets
Taskmaster.
Taskmaster back into action. Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know what his role would be necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, yeah, you could still have Yelena going after him still after all these years, but you got to remember how long ago this was in MCU years, as you know, after Civil War and all that, and you know, we do fast forward to present time with the end credit scene. But I feel like the way this movie, I feel like I could compare it to Rogue One almost, where it's like, you know, we don't really have to care about these characters anymore because they're dead. You know, with the Black Widow thing, you know, it's like we're just here to see the end of Black Widow, and I think at the end they're kind of like, you know, yeah, he's dead. Rackov's dead, and that's it. But like, you know, if he is dead for real, I am a little disappointed because as a movie fan, you know, I would have, you know, liked to see maybe the cliche crawling out of the helicopter at the end, and you know, her kind of walking over him, looking at him, and like shooting him in the head to confirm the kill. Like that would have been a more powerful
like,
scene.
impactful.
Can I throw an option out for like what would he do? What would be the purpose? So we do know that Yelena is going to be in future MCU projects. And we know that she had like been chemically altered so that she was like a mindless Red Room, I don't know, what do you want to call them? But
puppet.
Yeah. And we know that she's going to go forward as she's not really the next Black Widow, because Black Widow was good. And she's instead going to be a gray character that hopefully will be part of the Thunderbolts. So maybe in one of the movies where we need the Thunderbolts to be good and we need Yelena to be good, if Dreykov is not dead, can he do something to reactivate that chemical?
Oh, that's the plot that you love in Winter Soldier. That's your best friend Bucky.
It's Bucky all over again. I'm aware that right now I'm talking about Bucky, whom I hate.
You love Bucky.
I mean, I like
now,
him
though.
now.
You like him now.
Now she likes
I mean,
him.
that could happen, and it could just jack up like whatever we're fighting against. Like it could happen.
So yeah, it totally could. And so I want to touch back on something that Mario said. Comparing this to Rogue One, I was 100% like going into the movie with that expectation. When I saw Red Guardian, when I saw Melina, when I saw Yelena, their names are so familiar or so close. I was coming into it with that like expectation that not everybody's going to survive this movie, but Red Guardian and Melina both did, and I was shocked about that. I was totally expecting David Harbour to die in this movie, and because he survived, and because Melina survived, and Yelena survived. The next question is, where were these characters in this giant battle with Thanos in Infinity
This
War
question has
and
really
Endgame?
bothered Mike. Like, we have talked way more about this than is necessary.
It's a valid
my big
question.
thing is like, oh, they weren't invited. Like, you don't,
Yeah.
they didn't know where the battle was going to happen.
They're not part of the
weren't invited.
Avengers.
But then Mike was like, well, but wait a second. Like, Black Widow was sort of running point. And like in this movie, she sort of reconciled with them, knows that they have like superpowers. He's a super soldier. Why not invite them?
Maybe
Well,
because she didn't think that
Valid point.
they would mesh well with the Avengers.
Well, that, and I feel like the more obvious reason is, we don't know who the hell these characters are at that point. Like, yeah, comic fans would be like, oh, that's Red Guardian, but people in the theaters would be like, wait, is that fucking David Harbour? Like, they're gonna be like, but it's kind of like, I'm kind of diving into the last question, which we'll get to. But if this Black Widow movie came out, which would make more sense after Civil War, then absolutely. If you introduced these characters already, then absolutely they'd have a portal of their own. They'd be showing up, and you'd get that great, like, oh my god, it's a Captain America! I can't believe I'm actually meeting you.
So funny.
Like, he would have fanboyed out, and that would have been great,
Oh my god!
So that would have
great.
been a fantastic payoff. Unfortunately, with COVID kind of being a thing. I mean, who knows what the whole deal was? I mean, this is way before COVID, Civil War. But if that movie was placed in there, which is where it belongs. I remember when they first, you see them, surrounding the building trying to find Natasha at the beginning of the movie, and they're talking about everything that happened in Civil War. I'm like, damn, we're going back this far. Like, I haven't,
Right, yeah.
I haven't thought about
really
Civil
think
War
for a second.
I haven't thought about Civil War in so long. Like, we're going back here, man. Like, I'm in
I should have
Endgame
done
times.
a refresh.
So it's like, so like that's the first thing I said. I leaned over to, we're with it was me, Lee, and our brother Alex. I'm like, didn't we fucking deal with this already? Like, we're still talking about, we're back in Civil War day. We're backpedaling a little bit.
Yeah.
So it would have made a lot more sense to have it then, and then you have that great payoff. But so you wouldn't. But in reality, maybe they're in hiding. I mean, Red Guardian broke out of prison.
Yeah, he was in prison. He's wanted. They tried to come get them at the very end of the movie. What's his face?
Right.
Ross did.
Well, that's, I think, what I told you earlier when we were talking about it, is like, they're wanted by the U.S. government. Maybe she cares enough about her family that she's like, I'm not going to bring them here.
Yeah, keep a low profile.
Have them get snatched up.
Well,
definitely.
Oh, you go
go
first.
ahead.
I would say, what would be a good way to kind of get them back real quick is with Val recruiting Yelena. Maybe you get Red Guard. It's like, hey, I need a job.
Heck yes.
And he joins
100%.
the gang.
100%. That's totally how I picture him moving forward. But they have to have an answer on where they were during Thanos.
They have to have like an answer
in the storyline,
like,
in the plot, because totally logistically, like from production standpoint, when they started shooting Infinity War, I don't think a standalone Black Widow movie was even a thought yet. And so I think that, I mean, maybe it was, but the planning of who's going to be in this big battle, I'm positive that Red Guardian and Melina and Yelena were not part of conversations of bringing them in.
Right. But we need an in-story
reason. I think that it would
Same
have
thing
been,
will happen in Eternals.
Yeah.
Where are we all at?
Where are we all at with Thanos? But I wish that, maybe there was just a blip of a second in that last scene, last battle in Endgame, where all the heroes are like portaling in and stuff. It didn't have to be they didn't have to even be in the middle of the screen, but like just a little hint that maybe Red Guardian and Melina and Yelena were there. I think that would have been
I don't
cool.
know. They're going to have to get creative because
we'll
every new hero that you bring into the MCU is going to have to answer for where
it's not
a
huge serious burning question, but it's something where I was like, if they survived this, why didn't they, why wouldn't they be there for this Thanos battle, which is supposed to be as big as saving the universe from being, blipped out. So
So obviously we understand this is like a spy flick and all that, but I appreciate as like a movie fan uh talking about what are the deeper themes of the film. Um what are our lessons that we learned here, guys?
What are our lessons? I think the biggest one is forgiving yourself, you know, clearing your ledger, so to speak, you know, getting that being able to look at yourself and being able to forgive yourself.
Well, I don't think I think the point is you can't clear your ledger sometimes. And
Yeah.
you have to be willing to be like, I did what I could and I can't. And I have to give myself a little bit of a break. Like that's kind of where.
But you can be a better
Nat
person
was.
moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can do better in the future, but you can't go back and fix the past. So you just have to
Right.
move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And family, yo.
Oh, the family.
Family. It's all about family. Yeah, I think it's definitely a lot really family based, and you know, not by blood necessarily. I mean, even they're not really her blood parents, you know, because we heard, you know, Red Skull say her real dad's name,
Right.
Ivan. So you know,
Right.
we haven't even seen her real daddy, but you know, but even it kind of shows that you know, sometimes blood isn't family. I mean, look at us, we're like family, you know, with our channel here. And you know, even at the end of the movie, when you know she's getting on her new Quinjet, and she's like, you know, I'm gonna go check on my other family, you know, like
Right.
see how they're doing, and that's the Avengers. So like,
Yeah, she said I thought I
came-
had no one, and I had no family. It turns out I had two.
two
Yeah.
family.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was pretty cool.
So like that's kind of a deep thing where it's like, you know, showing people, you know, there's family. Even
What
if you,
is that? What is family?
yeah, if you don't think you
I
have
wrote
family, it's right in front of
our
you.
notes. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. And I think that's really like she was loyal to Yelena, even when like really jacked a lot of stuff up for her. They weren't real family. Natasha didn't really see them as family,
Mhm.
but she was still loyal to her sister. And then obviously loyal to the Avengers, but we've
Right.
seen that for years.
Right.
To her death.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good thing about these Marvel flicks. It's just like, it's not just punching and superpowers. It's like,
Right.
there's some deeper meaning when you sit there and really stare at it. You're like, oh, I love my family.
Now, speaking of
Hmm.
deeper meaning, we have to talk about that end.
Yo,
Insane.
the end credit scene.
What
This
does
is-
it mean?
This is the only scene in the whole movie that had a huge, ginormous impact to the future of the MCU. So what was that scene?
So we have Val. Val shows back up, and it looks like not Melina. God, now I'm getting them mixed up.
Yelena.
Yelena has already been working for her,
Mm-hmm.
and
Or
then
been
the next
approached
hit
anyway.
Looks like it's gonna be Hawkeye. Poor
That's
Hawkeye.
the target. Yeah.
Hawkeye's the new target. Yeah, so we've got Val again, and of course we've been talking a lot about the Thunderbolts coming to the MCU, and Thunderbolt Ross was back
Yeah.
again in this film.
So for those that may not know who Val is, I mean, she's a very recent character. I mean, it's been since
Was
it's only a few months ago
introduced
that she's been
Falcon
in the
and Winter
MCU. So
Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, if you haven't watched that yet, for sure watch that. But some people are just watching these movies, you know, they haven't dipped into the Disney Plus shows. And so, dip into those shows, because it's not just these movies that are impacting things. We've seen that on Loki.
Well, our next review is going to go
Yeah.
way into that.
But she makes her first appearance in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and she looks to be recruiting a team of anti-heroes / gray
The
characters. We know for a fact that she's got US Agent. Pretty positive that she called Zemo a buddy of hers, or like a friend. It's kind of like chummy, like she's probably going to get him as well.
I'm just glad he's going to come back, because I love Zemo.
Yeah.
When his Turkish delights.
We see that she's working, or has worked with Yelena in this end credits scene. And then we've got some indications in future trailers that, maybe we saw Abomination at the end of the latest Shang-Chi trailer.
Right.
He would fit perfectly in this type of team, even though he's a crazy, Hulk variant, if you want to call him that. But the biggest thing that keeps happening in these projects is Secretary Ross. He keeps popping up in these movies and pretty much making a fairly big deal about his health issues. Like every time he pops up, he's talking about having a bypass surgery.
Yeah, he was in this, right? He's talking about his heart.
Right. And in the
He's
comics,
gonna be a bionic man.
well, and in the comics, he starts trying to perfect the serum that, I guess the super soldier serum, right? It's the serum that turned Banner into the Hulk. He ends up turning himself into the Red Hulk, trying to assist in his health issues in the comics. In that same time frame, though, he also forms a team called the Thunderbolts because his nickname is Thunderbolt Ross, and I think Val is working with him to assemble this team together because he can't control the Avengers. He can't get.
Right. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, she was recruiting with Crap Cap,
US agent,
Captain USA.
US agent. Thank you.
Yep.
Could not remember his name.
So this was a impactful scene because we are definitely going to see some sort of mashup of the Thunderbolts, if you want to call them that. It could be called the Dark Avengers. There's another name for a group that was very similar in the comics, with Red Guardian possibly being in there if Yelena is there. So I'm down. Like, this plan is great.
But I have a question about just the specifics of her. I know that she's confirmed to be in the Hawkeye cast, but do we really think that, she knows that her sister was tight with Hawkeye? Like, they spent 4 days in the air ducts above the subway, right? So, like, do you really think that she's gonna just blindly go into this and like accept him as her target, or do we think like there's going to be some moral dilemma there?
So I've heard a couple other people ask this question too. When Val says your next target, I assume that she means your next target to go kill or hunt down and beat up or whatever. And the way she delivers it is, do you want to hunt down the person that killed your sister or whatever?
Yeah, for her death.
But I started to think, I wonder, could there be a possibility that she's wanting to recruit Hawkeye into this team?
I didn't think about that.
But
that's a good point.
I think it's more so you're going to hunt this guy down.
But there's another thing that we haven't brought up yet that's important from this.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that Val knew about the presumably the time heist and the events on Vormir.
Right.
That's not public knowledge, like in the world. So it's like, where did she get that information from? Why does she know that stuff? And if she does know that stuff, then why does she blame?
Why is she
Hawkeye?
spinning it that it's Hawkeye's fault if she really knew what happened?
Right.
All great
things that make you say
And so we're continuing that branch into Hawkeye, which is coming out on Disney Plus. It doesn't have an exact date yet, but it does say late 2021. So it's going to be this year, which is crazy because there's so many other things happening in Marvel.
They're making up for the draft bill.
Yeah, but it is. I'm assuming
keeping us busy.
Long as COVID doesn't become a thing again.
I'm assuming that fairly soon we'll get a trailer for that. They're probably were waiting for this movie to settle with that end credit scene before they started promoting.
That's
Hawkeye.
The problem. I mean, people have been asking that about like Spider-Man and stuff too. Like, where are these trailers? But I think they have crammed so many projects in together that like they have to release this first before this trailer makes sense. Or there would be like spoilers for the previous film in that trailer and stuff. I think they've got everything crammed in so tight that they really are having to like wait until projects are released before they can release the trailers.
Oh, one thing I thought was interesting, speaking of Val real quick, that was supposed to be the first time we saw her.
Yes, it
Mhm.
was.
because of
Mm.
with the dates being pushed back for Black Widow coming out. It was supposed to come out before Falcon and Winter Soldier, so that was supposed to be our introduction to her.
Yep.
So I mean, it didn't
Right.
really make that big of a difference. So it was more of like oh, now I know who this
Confirmation.
is. But
Right.
it would have been definitely a
Yeah,
different.
it would have been
pop.
a lot cooler to have met Val.
At the end
that
credit
way.
scene of a big major picture, yeah. And I think they probably, I'm assuming they probably reshot that after, or at least had some extra scenes to kind of splice together. Because like if that was the first time that we would have seen Val, there wasn't like, she didn't say her name. I don't even think, like it was a very like,
Yelena did say, "Hey Val."
oh,
or
did she?
something like
Okay,
that. Yeah.
yeah. That she didn't say her, in
Valentina.
yeah,
Contessa Valentina
Falcon Winter
de
Soldier, it's
Fontaine.
very clear.
Yeah.
She's like, I am blah blah blah, blah, her whole full
Yeah.
name.
Right.
And she has a nice like few minutes to settle, and then we barely ever see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Last big question before we go through our overall thoughts. Does this film belong in phase 4?
Oh man.
No.
Unfortunately, it does not. 100% does not belong right here. They missed the ball by having this come
Missed the
before.
boat.
Mario said on the podcast, if this had come out after Civil War, this would have been like
A grand slam.
Mhm.
It would have, and I do appreciate that they're giving the female, Avenger her movie,
Her moment in the sun.
yeah, because she's been it's been a boys club, and they're like, look at us, and we made Taskmaster a female, but I'm like, it's a little late, you guys. Like,
Yeah, it's like a little
you
too
should have done
late.
that maybe a
Too
little
little
bit
too late,
earlier.
yeah.
I mean, whatever. I appreciate it. I hope that they've learned their lessons. That female lead superheroes can also make money in the box office.
Mhm.
And we've got Loki, who's our first gender fluid hero. He's now a hero. He's been labeled as such. But yeah, it felt a little late.
Yeah, it fell a little short, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of like, it almost felt like a response film to
Yes.
Wonder Woman and all the other various like the Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman, then Captain Marvel and all that.
Captain
but like
Marvel,
it
yep.
almost felt like, oh, too little too late, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think it had it, and I think I said this in the podcast that we just did. It would have been her last scenes in Endgame would have felt so much more emotionally impactful to me if I knew this story with like Yelena and Hawkeye and her family and getting out of the Red Room and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It would have just had more of an impact. And then like even that scene in Endgame gets overshadowed by Tony's death. So like there are so many things that like, and even I was telling Mario and this before we started, Mario and Lee this before we started recording. This came out 5 days before Loki has exploded the multiverse. And so it's just like, now it's like, well, now this is overshadowing Black Widow's movie even more. It's in the wrong spot. And now one of the biggest events in the whole universe has just started.
I didn't even think about the Loki stuff.
Yeah. So no, it was bad placement. And I know
bad
that
timing.
I know it was affected by COVID and it was delayed and it shouldn't have been here
But
to begin with.
Even if it came out a year ago, it still would have been in phase 4. It still would have been.
The stakes were not very high
place
in the movie.
Mario, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for sure, I think I mentioned it on the last episode of the podcast too, where, when we get to the scores, this really affected my score, in a way where it's like, I feel like a lot of things were all over the place. Things were kind of rushed in a way. Things weren't explained that I wanted explained. And it did feel like a Rogue One type of situation, and where it's like we're just kind of it's like we don't need to give you that many details. We're not going to see Black Widow ever again. So that really affected my my thoughts on it. It would have been a higher score if you placed it after Civil War. Would have made more sense, and it just kind of ended up being a little lackluster and not that, not as exciting as I want it to be, especially being the first Marvel movie back in the cinemas. You kind of want, we expect big things from Marvel all the time, so when something like this happens, you're kind of like, why? Very weird.
Yep.
But to be fair, I do think the movie itself was a good movie. Like, it was entertaining. It kept me entertained, but
It was
I
just in the
don't.
wrong spot.
It was in the wrong
When
place.
we
It was the
do
wrong
our
place, the wrong time.
annual rewatches that
Yeah.
our family does,
Yeah, we
and
watched them in chronological
we put
order.
it in the right spot. I think that I'll really enjoy it during the rewatches too. But it's yeah, I'm with Mario. It did affect my scoring. So speaking of that, let's go through. We're gonna rate the movie from
1 to 10. We're gonna give it 1 to 10 nerdies.
Nerdies. I will say, and then any final thoughts that you have. I feel like I've shared all my thoughts, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go first. We did rate this on the main podcast, but the more I've thought about it, the more I feel like I don't feel the same way. So I think I'm gonna give it a 7. 7 out of 10 nerdies for me. So I don't know why I'm writing that down.
You're about to write it down.
Like we're having a draft.
Official.
I always am writing
down.
during the podcast. So but I feel like I've already shared all of my relevant thoughts. So Mike.
I'm in the same boat. I feel like I've shared a lot. I will say this. If I was rating this strictly on a standalone movie, I really enjoyed it. Like I had a really good time. The fight scenes, the choreography, the plot, like all of it was really well done. There's some twists in there and stuff. If I was rating it on just standalone movie, it would be an 8 at least, I think. However, we're in the MCU, baby. Like this all relates to everything. And so you've got to look at it at the impact that it had on the overall universe, and for all of the reasons why we just talked about with the placement issue. I am actually lowering my score from the podcast as well. I'm actually dropping it to Mario's original score. I'm putting it at a 6.5.
Wow.
I think
Mario's original was a 6.5.
I believe it was.
I thought he went higher than that.
I think I said something. I said 8 originally. Then I said, "Well, I'll."
Oh, that's right.
I'll say what I say when it's my turn.
Okay,
Yes.
Lee.
Okay, so I'm with Britt and Mike, I guess. So when Mario and I were in the car after the movie, we were discussing it, and when we first left the theater, we were both like kind of amped, and we were like, "That was a really good movie. I really enjoyed that." And then as we got to talking in the car, the more I was thinking about it, like when I left the movie theater, I was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool to go back and rewatch this movie and put things in context, because they take a really long time to explain her background with the widows from the beginning of the movie." So like the beginning of the movie, if you're not a comic book fan, like it's really ambiguous. Like you're like, what the fuck is going on here? So I mean, it took until the middle of the movie to really get the background about what was going on in the Red Room. So that was really a struggle for me to really be able to understand the movie itself, because I was like, okay, yeah, but you started a thought and you didn't finish it. So I was in the middle of the movie. I was like, oh yeah, I would like to go back and rewatch this with this context in mind. And then as we were in the car, I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know that I really want to go back and rewatch this right now. Like, it was a good movie, but I don't know that it has the rewatch value at this moment in time. Like you said, I think in the, the rewatch of the whole universe in context, I think that it would be a really good rewatch. I really would like to see it after Civil War, before in Infinity War. Like there's a lot of wars in MCU.
A lot of wars.
I am going to stick with my original score of 7 nerdies, just because I do feel like it was a really good movie. But it definitely fell a little short in terms of relation, like you said, to the MCU.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Mario, that means we're on.
It's up to you.
It's up to me. To wrap it up, Black Widow, again, it's in the wrong place. There are some things that are rushed, some things that are not explained, some things that didn't need to be in there, I feel. that really affected this movie. Seeing her family's great. Like, again, David Harbour, fantastic. Like the opening sequence of them like on the runway, him on the wing shooting off the shield agents, fantastic. As a movie as a whole, I think it's a fine movie, but fitting into this huge Marvel universe, it really lacks a lot. Said it, like I said before, I'll say it again. If this movie came out in 2016, it would have been an 8 for me. But with what went down, with what happened, with the really poor send-off to a really great character that was there for a very long time. I remember seeing her in Iron Man 2 and thinking, hey, this is going to be great. You know, Black Widow, this is going to be great. I can't wait to see what they do with her. And they did her justice for those years, but like to end it like this definitely didn't feel right to me. So that being said, I'm going to give Black Widow a 6.
Oh, yep.
Harsh.
Yeah. So we're around this. I mean, with 6s and 7s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're in the same
Total
boat.
6s and 7s.
That's right.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
It's not my least favorite MCU film.
No, but
Absolutely
like,
not.
if you had to rank this in all of the MCU flicks, like it's definitely in the bottom half, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It didn't
But-
give me the same vibe. I think that they were going for that Wonder Woman vibe almost, like where they were like, yeah, get it, girl. But like when I left the theater after Wonder Woman, I felt empowered. I felt like that was a film. That was a really solid film. When I left after Black Widow, I was like, that was good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. It wasn't the same heart feel, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Well, there
is
you
what it
go.
is.
Mario, you wanna wrap us up?
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Friggin' Nerd Reviews Black Widow. If you guys enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, be sure to check out all our content, hit the likes, all that good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on their social medias, we're on Twitter, of course, all different updates. Hit us up on twitch.tv/FrigginNerdsMedia to check out all our great content, gaming, podcasting, crafting, Dungeons & Dragons, all the stuff under the nerdy sun.
all the
A
things.
lot of fun stuff. So thank you guys for joining us. As always, I'm Mario Lima.
I'm friggin' Nerd Lee.
I'm friggin' nerd Mike.
I'm friggin' nerd B.
And you guys have been friggin' awesome. Stay friggin' nerdy.
Stay friggin' nerdy.
Friggin'
Cheers.
nerdy.